Hello Pathfinders, and welcome back to a series of videos where I review the various scenarios, modules, and adventure paths for the Pathfinder role-playing game, First Edition. In this video, I'll actually be taking a little bit of a break from reviewing the various society scenarios in order to cover something near and dear to me. Red Sonja, we're talking about the Pathfinder Worldscape miniseries, a crossover comic produced by Dynamite Entertainment, back in 2016, I think, which explored the titular worldscape, a demi-plane all of its own that housed mighty figures from 3 different worlds. In this comic run, we got to see iconic Pathfinder characters meet up with and fight alongside characters from other fictional worlds, both classic and new, and they all participate in a struggle for survival in unfamiliar territory. Tarzan, Red Sonja, and even John Carter of Mars all make an appearance here, but I'm not really here to talk about the story itself. It's fine, go read it. I quite like it. But instead, I'm here to talk about the mechanics at play here. You see, Dynamite Comics have a long history of inserting actual mechanical rules for the Pathfinder RPG into their Pathfinder comics. And you see all kinds of stuff like extra items, character rules, class options that players and dungeon masters alike can use for their regular Pathfinder games. Worldscape is no different. And while I could, in theory, go over the entire miniseries, and I might do that at some point, perhaps in a later video, covering all the cool stuff they have, in today's video, I just kind of want to cover Issue 1. You see, in the back section of Issue 1, we have additional rules. If I can pull the page up right. Additional rules for one of my favorite characters of all time, Red Sonja. And in this video, I'm not going to really go over her too much, but I do want to talk about the character archetype they created just for her, the one designed to integrate her into the Pathfinder RPG. You see, I've talked about Red Sonja before on the channel quite a lot. I'm a big fan of the character. She's one of Sword and Sorcery's most iconic characters, period. One of the greatest heroes, and I'm always thrilled to get more content for her. And Worldscape, bringing her to the world of Pathfinder, of course, had me super intrigued back then. And the bonus pages that we received not only give us a character sheet, but like I said, special rules for her own ranger archetype, the Sword Devil. Red Sonja herself, to go over her character info quickly, she is a 8th level ranger with a bit of a focus build on 2-weapon fighting and getting up close and personal with her enemies. Good stuff all around. I'm sure she would be absolutely vicious on the tabletop, but I want to focus more on the archetype itself. The Sword Devil archetype is supposed to embody Red Sonja herself, charismatic yet vengeful, and they value skill and precision in dispatching their foes. At first level, the Sword Devil swaps out the favored enemy feature that most rangers get in exchange for the Death Vow ability, which lets them focus all of their hatred and rage and fury on a single foe in order to get a bonus to attack and damage rolls on that enemy equal to half of their class level. This Death Vow ability is actually the pillar of the archetype. It's what all of the later abilities kind of focus on, and it can only be done a few times a day, once at first level and then an additional time every 3 levels, which is pretty cool. At level 3, however, the Sword Devil loses the favored terrain ability that rangers usually get access to, and instead they gain Slashing Fury, which is pretty unique. It does a few things for the character. The first thing it does is let the ranger use charisma instead of intelligence for the purpose of qualifying for all combat feats going forward, which is pretty nice, especially if your ranger has a pretty high charisma score. The second thing it does is let them select a light or one-handed slashing weapon, a lot of loud cars today, and use their dexterity modifier instead of their strength for attack rolls with that weapon. They also gain additional weapons to use this ability with, every 5 levels afterwards, and the ability counts as weapon finesse when it comes to feat prerequisites, which is really, really nice, all things considered. Now, level 4 is where things really start to change up for the class. You see, this is a pretty important level for most rangers. This is where they get their animal companion and their access to their spells. Both really important for rangers. But Red Sonja is a classic sword and sorcery heroine. She's not really all that into magic. She abhors it usually. And when it comes to animals, yeah, horse or a dog friend could be there, but she's not really all into keeping pets. So instead, the Sword Devil gets, instead of an animal companion, it gets the Inspired Example ability, which is a standard action that imparts half of their Death Vow bonus to all nearby allies, I think within 30 feet, as well as the Untouchable ability, which it turns the ranger into something like a monk by letting them add their charisma bonus to AC as long as they aren't wearing armor and are unencumbered. Cool stuff. Forgot to mention, at 6th level and every 3 levels after it, the Sword Devil will gain a +1 dodge bonus to AC, which is really flavorful because Red Sonja, in case you guys couldn't tell, she's one of the poster girls for Bikini Army battlers. So making her mechanically nimble and hard to hit while she's dealing out death with her twin swords is very on brand, especially when it comes at the expense of magic, something that she'd never really be caught dead with. 11th level doesn't change much, it just gives the Sword Devil a second combat style instead of Quarry, which is fine, but it's the final 2 abilities of the archetype that I really want to focus on. You see, at level 19, the Sword Devil gains Seething Fury, which is flavored as the Sword Devil having fought so much, been in so many battles that they've lost touch with their own humanity, and they're more vicious. So as a result, their Death Vow is even better because the Sword Devil adds their charisma bonus to attack and damage rolls versus Death Vow targets. Oh, and also they automatically confirm critical hits from now on against such targets. I'm not entirely sure how exactly losing touch with your humanity turns into using charisma to strike your foes dead, but it is still a pretty powerful ability, all things considered, for a purely combat class. But moving on, at level 20, the Sword Devil becomes an Avatar of Vengeance, becoming infused with supernatural powers because some sort of otherworldly entity has empowered the Sword Devil to strike down their foes. At level 20, a Sword Devil can be infused with their own kind of killing spirit to become some sort of supernatural engine of violence. This Avatar of Vengeance ability can be activated as a standard action, lasts up to 10 minutes a day, used in 1-minute increments, and is pretty swanky because the ability itself gives a +6, I think, dodge bonus to AC, or just regular bonus to AC, actually, now that I think about it. They get fire resistance 30, and a fly speed of 60 feet. What? Look, okay, all things equal, I get it. The final level of any class and any archetype that's like really focused needs to be impressive. A little reward for getting any character that far, but the Sword Devil archetype is supposed to be a representation of Red Sonja, the character, or at least what a character like her could become in the Pathfinder RPG. And I've read all of the Red Sonja novels that were printed before this comic came out. And I have read a lot of Red Sonja comics, and in none of these comics does she at any point, in none of these stories at any point does she suddenly start flying around, screaming at the top of her lungs, plowing through enemies, going through fire because she's basically immune to it. None of that stuff. It doesn't happen. That's crazy stuff. It's absolutely wild to me that they would just go, yes, Red Sonja, a sword and sorcery, like, standard heroine, usually goes around with a sword, cuts people down, and moves on, and would decide to give her a fly speed. Now, obviously, the Red Sonja in the comic, she's only level 8. She's never probably going to get to level 20. She's never going to be flying around. But the fact that this ability was tacked on to the archetype that's supposed to represent her really wigs me out because it's so out of left field. the archetype itself actually is all over the place. If you think about it, it wants to modify in charisma. It wants to be kind of like a monk. So it's like a weird mix of a monk and a swashbuckler all in one ranger package, which is kind of cool, but also kind of weird. And I get it. You know, you wanted to make something balanced and also flavorful and fun, but this final ability really wigs me out because it's just so out of left field, like I said. So overall, honestly, the only reason I wanted to review this comic was because of this archetype, because I'm a huge fan of Red Sonja, and because I just wanted to talk about it, because I remember seeing this the first time it came out and being like, what is that? What is that? Why would they do that? So overall, I give the archetype itself like a 5 out of 10. Yeah, it starts off pretty strong, but ends so weirdly. The only other thing to mention about the comic itself, besides the story being kind of okay, is inside each comic, there is this little mini poster. Pretty cool stuff. And on the reverse side of all these mini posters is a battle map you can use in the Pathfinder RPG, which is really neat. So that's a cool little bonus there just for grabbing the comics physically. So, what do I think overall? Kind of weirded out by how it ended, but I kind of liked where it started off. And if I was looking to build Red Sonja, this comic gives you a pretty good place to start. So overall, pretty fun. But that's all I got for you kiddos today. Please like, share, subscribe. If you want to see more Pathfinder content, I do try to upload review videos with some regularity. And of course, I talk about all kinds of other stuff on the channel, TCGs, video games, all that jazz. So please subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.